We said we were
I'm
going
not
on
allowed to
tour in
interrupt, right?
24. Well, here we are, at Everything Electric.
And our event sponsors have got something to say.
For me, it's sometimes difficult to say, what do you do? Ask me what I don't do. We will finish earlier.
We're here with part of the EV Cafe area, of course.
What's great is in partnership with EV Cafe, we can come together as a collective of a number of specialists in different fields and hopefully provide those customers with the full solution.
It's our first time at an Everything Electric or a fully charged event. Footfall today's been really good. We've had some good conversations.
We work at EV Cafe because they're great people. They're really passionate about what they deliver. They allow us to connect with a lot of businesses that people are here today, and we just love to be in there, and it's funner.
Well, we work with EV Cafe because they help companies like Vital EV extend their reach to many different avenues that they wouldn't normally get to.
They have got all the contact that you require. They're very, very helpful. They've got an incredible knowledge of the industry. They know everyone and they can help you in so many different areas in terms of giving you visibility, putting you in contact with the right people to drive business.
One role of the AA, in fact working with EV Cafe, is to dispel those myths, to show the benefits of electric vehicles for individuals, for their wallets, for the environment. I'm optimistic about the future. You know, the future is electric.
I just want to say that Sam Clark came up with the word funner. So
Fake news.
Sam, you're just such an innovator.
it's funnier, Sam. Anyway, hello everyone and welcome to the EV Cafe. I'm Johnny Berry, Chief Barista for today's show, and in my day job, I'm the Head of Decarbonisation at Navuna Vehicle Solutions. Today, we're diving into the buzz and business behind shows, events and conferences in the electric vehicle industry. Joining me as always is our expert panel and Sam Clark from the EV Cafe. About to get you today. We're ready to dissect just how crucial these gatherings are for advancing the message around decarbonisation of transport. You already know the team. They are John Curtis, our Ops Director, knows how to make any event electrifying. If you haven't seen him in action before, you are missing out. Sarah Sloman, Chief Strategy Officer at Paythrough. She's a master at ensuring that we're not just all attendees, but highlights. Paul Kirby, aka the Electric Van Man from EV Essentials, brings a practical angle to the glitz of the industry shows, often being the voice of the operators, the message from the OEMs, and an advisor to the government. I'm talking about the van plan. And finally, Sam Clark, Chief Electric Vehicle Officer at GridServe, who knows how to spark interest or a debate on any panel and spearheading some of the biggest challenges we face as an industry, like electrifying trucks. Today, we're going to unpack the real value of being seen and heard in the world where a tweet can be someone's gospel. It's not just about the spotlight, it's about influence and information. Oh, and we do like to bust a few myths along the way. Before we start, I just want to say a huge, huge thank you to our gold partners. They are, and hopefully I don't miss anyone this time, Paul, Paythrough, Zaptec, the AA, Plug Me In, Europe Car, Webfleet, and Iveco. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Round of applause.
Well done.
They get it right, and for us sponsors and partners. Whether you're here for the discussion or the networking or a bit of fun, every moment is an opportunity to drive the future to a better world. So let's get started. Paul, where are you? What are you doing today?
We're going to take a tour, and if it works, then it'll be good, because we're talking about shows today and events, right, where people can come and see new products and kind of touch and feel everything. Well, we are here at the Great British Fleet event, and I'm going to go and try and find somebody. So I'm going to have to run through, so, you know, all your event partners, the AA, top of the stack, of course, the AA. Top. We're hearing from the AA in a bit. Sorry if it gets a bit noisy in the background, but so we're walking in now.
Or
so
the
you come
foreground.
in, and then we've got all of the people to these events. And you know, we started in COVID, right, when we couldn't have people, but we get to get people now. And the real joy is there's another person hidden in an AA van right there. That is the wonderful Sarah Sloman, as you probably gathered. He's there. We'll walk through all of the crowd and just give us a thing here, because the good thing about events is you get to disseminate information, tell the truth about electric vehicles. And then you get to go and talk to people like like Geotab and Leasis, and there's other companies. Who else have we got here? Oh, well, yeah, we've got lots of companies. Let's just say that we're you know, new vehicles coming to market get announced at these kinds of shows, and in the distance you can see some of those. But I think the key is about all of these events for me is that we get to see people and say hello, say how are you, and kind of chat with wonderful people like Peter Golding from Fleet Check, who's a lovely man. It was his fault that I actually stepped out into business, but that's it, isn't it? It's about connecting with people. So there you go. That's a little very whistle-stop tour of the Great British Fleet event, and an idea of why it's of value for people to come out to an event like this. We missed some who's down there, some as well. But anyway, back to you, Johnny.
Martin Brundle makes that look so easy on the Formula One show.
Yeah. Better than
Are you saying I make it look difficult?
Back to the studio.
That's our roving reporter, Paul. I think we need to sort his internet connectivity, I think, a little bit more. But anyway, Paul, thanks for that. Sam, over to you. From your vantage point in commercial fleets, what unique benefits do industry conferences like the one that Paul's at provide for networking and growth in the industry for electric commercial vehicles?
I think, Johnny, that it's advancing at such a rate in terms of the knowledge base that everybody has within the industry. I think that, the van world is growing all of the time now, which is fantastic, and everyone's got a lot more understanding now of how to electrify vans, or commercial fleets generally. But there's still also obviously a huge amount of education that's still required. And then, as you said on the introduction, which didn't include any insults, which I find quite extraordinary, although you did get my job title wrong. Is that we're now moving into the bigger stuff. Obviously, that's the bit that I'm working on at the moment. So there's a huge amount of learning to now do in the HGV world and coach and bus world, and all the bigger things which are now starting to come to the fore, as well as some of the light commercial vehicles. So yeah, they are really, really important, because it helps give those that are still on the beginning of these journeys mechanisms by which to learn more, understand from those that have been there before them, and therefore not make the same mistakes. Because as a lot of us as pioneers in the industry made lots of mistakes, and there's no need to repeat those if we can share that information for others to make benefit of. So hopefully that's part of the takeaways, I think, for events is listening to those that have been there before, and learning from that, and then making informed decisions as a result. And really, forums like ours and forums like where Sarah and Paul are today are the ways in which you can do that.
Sarah, Sam mentioned about getting that message out there, and you being such a strategist. What tactics do you find most effective for ensuring that message is not just heard, but resonates at events that Paul's at today?
Yeah, one of the reasons I came to this event today is it's not an EV space. So I think it's really important to go to things that push your knowledge and push your boundaries. And actually, Johnny, I liked what you said in the intro to me to the show, which is that you're not just an attendee, you might be somebody else's highlight. And that's absolutely true. Even just this last 2 hours, I've advanced my knowledge just from speaking to people. So in terms of strategically approaching these events, it's doing a little bit of groundwork in the first place to assess whether the event's worth attending, something that's suitable to your business, but also making sure you make time to stop and chat to people as well as see what's happening. But for me, my favourite's always the seminars, always the thought leadership pieces. You know, those people have either paid to be on stage because they know they've got something to share, or they feel like they need to represent an angle that you may not have thought of. So going to these events with an open mind, a bit of spare time, which I never have, and making sure you take something away and pass it on. That's where the dissemination specialism is.
Thank you, Sarah. And John, you've been at lots of e-mobility shows over the few years, haven't you? And what's the key factors make an event not just enjoyable, but a catalyst for EV adoption?
I think it's getting people with an open mind. If you can open people's minds with engaging content, so having people like Sam, I mean, Sam is not easy to take some days, and you know, when he's got an opinion, it's very, very strongly put. Paul the same, Sarah the same. We all have strong opinions, and that can put people off, I think. But what we do is we open minds and we say, look, here's the range of views from A through to Z. And then we start to narrow it down into how that affects individuals. And then we start to show them how you can overcome problems. And by the time we've finished, we've taken somebody from doubting Thomas through to, I'm going to give that a try. And I think the real nugget is when people do get to put their bums in a seat in an electric vehicle, get to speak to people who've done it, been there, got the T-shirt, and can help not just at the event, but then as part of a bigger community. And that's what we do, I think, is bring that community together after the events so that they can continue to ask questions, continue to learn and discover, see the mistakes that we make, and learn from the things that go well.
Thank you, John. Paul, we're at quite a few events this year, aren't we? So what's the next event that EV Cafe Village will be exhibiting at?
Well, it's very exciting, actually. It's only a week away. In fact, less than a week away. A week yesterday, we will be starting at the Commercial Vehicle Show. And again, it's one of those events that are, it's not an EV show. It's not, you know, like a church get together. It is absolutely kind of getting out there to people that actually diesel is best. Diesel is the thing that works for them. But it's about educating and supporting that transition. And we are going to be in the heart of the CV show, right between Harris Maxus and also Renault. So a former haunt of yours, Johnny. And we will be, you know, either side of those guys, right at the end of Hall 5. A really brilliant place to be. We've got a number of exhibitors on there with us. We've got the Iveco E-Daily, which will be there loud and proud with its power wall and a game at the back and all the power coming out of the vehicle. Quite incredible. We've got the Monroe on stand as well, which will be fabulous. We've got Complio, we've got Europe Car, we've got Right Charge, Webfleet, and we're going to hear from Richard later. So a really good mixed Vital EV solutions with some charging solutions. And what a day, a few days, 3 days, in fact, that will be. And then, you know, hopefully other events. And if you, this particular one that we want to talk about is CarFest. We're not going to talk about it in detail now, but really beyond the church to sort of B2C, B2B2C, but a real opportunity to educate. And no other EV education is going on in that event. And we have an opportunity, but we do need partners. So if you want to be a partner for that event, it's at the end of August. Music Festival Extraordinaire with Chris Evans, going to be fantastic. John?
I guess what we also need, Paul, is people to think about coming along to visit. If we can get a body of really knowledgeable people in the EV space to come along and support not just us, but the exhibitors who are there and talk with other people, because I found petrol heads are really, really keen to learn and understand. Some of them just say, no, not for me. But if we can showcase that it's not just a few crackpots who want to hug a tree, but actually this is a major, major movement that's changing the face of transport by being there, being seen, being proud, talking, being open. It's got to be worth it. Come along to CarFest.
Thank you, John. We've got quite a few events this year. So what I've done is I've put our web URL into the chat box. So do go on there and subscribe if you haven't already to keep on top of where we are, so you come find us. So we better get on with today. We're here to tap into our panel and special guest expertise. Therefore, please don't forget to use the Q&A tab if you have a question. As always, the best question wins a mug, and that's decided by JC. But now it's time to welcome our first guest speaker for today, and that is over to you, Sam.
Sorry, Johnny. The best question. That's brilliant. Love that.
Can't get my words out today. Can't get my words out.
Squishy question. All right. There she is. Okay, first guest introduction. Are you ready, Kirsty? Kirsty Pendleton is head of B2B, which is business to business marketing at the AA, which is the Automobile Association. If I have to do that across all of this, it's going to take a while. Kirsty has over 20 years of experience within the automotive and mobility sectors. During her long and varied AA career, she has had several marketing roles, including a 3-year stint as brand guardian. Imagine a shield or something, I don't know. Her current role covers responsibility for marketing strategy, thought leadership, and commercial account support across the AA's corporate and business customer groups, including banking, insurance, OEMs, leasing companies, and CPOs, otherwise known as charge point operators. Kirsty is also responsible for commercial performance within the SME breakdown cover sector. So busy then. Kirsty is also responsible, I did that bit. Outside the AA, Kirsty is active within networking groups for women in automotive and EV. She's a regular contributor to decarbonisation conversations, a member of the AFP, which is the Association of Fleet Professionals, and a very familiar and loved figure on the automotive events circuit. Now, she's given me 2 interesting facts. Now, the first one involves the Chamber of Commerce, the House of Commons, being in a room she wasn't supposed to be and only realizing that she shouldn't be there because there wasn't any booze available. But maybe we'll just skip over that one and we'll go to the next one, which is very interesting. Everyone needs a hobby, and she's the reigning Victoria sponge baking champion in her village, which is, well, you know, like I said, everyone needs a hobby. So well done. That's cool. You need to bring some of these sponges to some of the events, Kirsty, I think. But anyway, yes, it is a good plan. But anyway, I guess, Kirsty, to kick you off with some conversation, what does the AA get out of face-to-face events? What's the tips for keeping the costs down, and what are your success factors? Because you do a lot of this stuff, so I think
we do
a wealth of experience when it's showcasing at events. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. And hi everyone, thanks for having me. Yeah, so we do a lot of events, and it's really ramped up since the pandemic. So I think last year we did just over 50 live in-person events, and this year we've already got 64 in the calendar, and there are still opportunities coming in, so I think we'll probably hit 70 by the end of the year. So you can tell from the volume of events that we attend that they're really important for us, and I guess for us, you know, if you put aside the commercial side, because I think we'll probably cover that during our Q&As, but you know, for us, there are kind of extrinsic benefits as well that are really important. 3 main areas. So firstly, and I guess really obviously, you know, the title of this webinar today, it's about showing. So in-person events give you a chance to showcase and demonstrate what you do. And that's really, you know, something that you can't get across necessarily just with the written word. Showing is better than telling, right? And actually letting people get hands-on. So we will showcase our expertise, we'll showcase our vehicles, we'll showcase our technologies. You know, on the expertise side of things, I could sit here and tell you how brilliant our patrols are, and they are, as you all know, they are brilliant. But if you come and visit the AA on one of our stands, you'll get to meet our patrols of the year, our recovery and roadside patrols of the year, Max and Chris. And when you talk to them, you get a real sense of not only their technical expertise, but you know, also their absolute commitment and passion for giving customers excellent service at the roadside. And you can't, it's really difficult to get that across on the written page. So vehicles as well. Well, Sarah's sitting in one of our vehicles right now. We will always try to get a vehicle to an event. Firstly, actually, because they're the best embodiment of our brand. You know, a great big yellow van with a great big AA logo on it. We don't need to pay for a backdrop. That's a way to keep costs down. If you've got logos on your vehicles, get your vehicles to the event. But also, you know, we're now introducing a lot of electric vehicles into our fleet and embedding those operationally. And people, you know, they have questions. How do they work? You know, what space is there inside? Are they the same as your diesel vans? So we can like Sarah, we can let people climb in and have a look around. And then on the technology side, I think I saw something popping up in the chat just a second ago. There is a lot of complex technology involved in the transition to EV, and it can be quite difficult to get a handle on that. So if you've got complex technology and you can break that down, and maybe, we've put together demo rigs of some of our roadside technology, and we can take them to shows and actually really brings to life how that technology works on a micro level. So showcasing. Secondly, and actually again, so showing is better than telling, but listening is also better than telling. So we go to events so we can listen to our customers and our prospects and others in the industry, and kind of take the temperature of what's happening out there. What are people frustrated about? What's keeping them awake at night? What are they passionate about? Where are others in the industry investing their time and investing their energy? And what are the challenges that the AA can help with? And we can take that insight back to the AA. And then I suppose, actually a really good example of that, Everything Electric a couple of weeks ago, our team were there over the weekend, loads of consumers there and AA members, and they had a lot of thoughts about the AA and electric vehicles, and a lot of those thoughts were not the right thoughts. Well, they were thoughts, but they didn't reflect the actual reality of how we help EV drivers. So we're taking that knowledge, we can take that back, and we've spoken to our colleagues in the business to say, actually, could we tweak our messaging to make that clearer? So we wouldn't have had those insights had we not had that experience. And then, just really the third thing, I think, using events as a platform for other stakeholders in the business. I think we're often, or particularly in leadership roles, we're really keen to make sure that we're improving our own systems and processes and services for customers. But we don't want to get too focused internally. So we invite other really key stakeholders in our organisation to come and use our events as a platform to engage strategically with industry. So I guess that's why if you come to an AA stand, you're not only going to meet our patrols, you're not only going to meet our sales teams, you're probably going to bump into Edmund King, our president. So he uses our shows as a platform for lobbying, campaigning. We've just launched our AA Motoring Manifesto, that kind of thing. Edmund can use events as a platform. And then also, there'll be people there might be people from our sustainability team, from our brand marketing team, from our strategy team. So we always make sure we've got a really good spread of people, and it's really useful for them as well as us. And I cannot talk about events. Sorry, I will shut up because I know I've come to the end of my 5 minutes, but I can't talk about events without mentioning Clive, who anyone who's been to one of our shows will have seen Clive. If you're thinking of getting involved in events, or if you are, you will know the top 3 things for events: organisation, organisation, organisation. So my top tip is everyone needs a Clive. You need somebody working on events that's got a handle on absolutely everything. So that's a quick kind of whistle-stop intro.
Thank you, Kirsty. We have our very own Clive at the EV Cafe, named Caroline, I think.
Yes, Caroline and Helen. Yeah, Caroline and Helen. Absolutely.
Yeah. Right, over to the EV Cafe team. I'm sure they're dying with questions.
Well, I think it's quite funny if I can just tip my camera ever so slightly. There's lots of people leaning on this vehicle because that's in the back is where all the magic happens. Everyone keeps getting in and out, and if the camera's shaking, it's because they're trying to jump in and out of the van. But just exactly what Kirsty said, it's not just people engaging with the AA. It's obviously Drive Tech here as well. And the Patroller of the Year is jackets behind me as I speak. And what the AA do, I think, is just bring it to life. The bright yellow is so visible from far away. It's just such a friendly household name that just makes everyone feel safe and secure and ready to take the plunge.
Cool.
JC.
Yeah, and a certain Mr. Edmund King is in the house as well. So he's just said a well done to both of you and Clive, Kirsty. So that's nice. So welcome, Edmund.
Hi, Edmund.
I may just be about to get the sack, but Johnny, when you're clipping this into short clips, if you could just take out the little section 35 seconds ago where Sarah said all the magic happens in the back.
In the back of
the van. I'm obviously not the biggest fan of vans. Obviously
I do love a
Sarah
van.
enjoy them as well.
Never been a secret. Vans are the way forward.
I may have been ill, but I'm not dead.
JC, I've noticed that we've got a few questions in the mail room.
Yes, mate.
Should we address a couple of them?
Yeah, Robin Hughes, who I think is in Manila at the moment, he said, Kirsty, can you provide comparisons of the service calls for internal combustion engine vehicles and EVs on the highways of the UK?
Can we provide? Yeah, we do. We do publish. I mean, we don't publish kind of on a weekly basis because it's very seasonal, but we obviously keep track of all our breakdowns and all our breakdown stats. And broadly speaking, the most common faults, in fact, very exactly speaking, the most common faults for breakdowns on ICE vehicles are the same as the most common faults on electric vehicles, tyres and 12-volt batteries. And as we know, I know Edmund often quotes that, I think we're now looking at around, or certainly not much over 2% of EV breakdowns only being due to being out of charge. So we do have those stats. Yeah, talk to me, get in touch afterwards and we'll talk to you.
Brilliant, because Robin's talking about time to resolve issues, a number of required towings, etc., etc. So quite complex. Robin, you're a great friend of the show. Thanks for asking the question, and please do send me an email or a message, and we'll get the information across to you. Thank you, Kirsty. Appreciate that. We've already had a winner of the mug. Can I just say, Randall Smith, who's about 9 foot tall, and I'm not arguing with him, said, can I get a squidgy AA van in an EV Cafe mug? That's a question. It's bold. And I've got to say, nobody else has ever asked that question. So I think he wins.
Shall I steal
Anybody
this?
arguing? Yeah, let's do it, Sarah.
Okay.
Right.
We can release the van.
So, Randall, that's yours. Now then, let's see. Ron Godfrey, another great fan of the show and definitely a fan of yours, Kirsty. What role do the AA feel they contribute to education in the EV transition period? In person, on social media? Is there more that you do? Because you do an awful lot of research, don't you?
Yeah, we do. So Edmund and the team keep a kind of regular barometer of the opinions of our members. We survey, I think there are about 75,000 AA members on a motoring panel, with about a third of them answering on any given month questions that we put to them about driving in general. And every so often there's a check-in on EVs and perceptions and looking at adoption. So we're quite well acquainted with the temperature of those perceptions, how positive are people feeling, how where do people see the barriers, and therefore how can we tweak our messaging to help with that. We are real firm believers. We support all drivers in all vehicles. So no matter what you're driving, we're there for you. But as I think Evan said in your clip at the start, if the future is electric, then we need to very much be on board with that, and giving people, again, that phrase again, creating that confidence for people to approach that transition. So that's very much what we try to do, and we're really keen not to be preachy, because we really do understand the challenges. We're transitioning our own fleet. We've got a big commitment to decarbonisation, but it's a really complex operational fleet. Paul will know vans, great models coming through now, but it's not kind of click your fingers and do it. And we really understand that for everybody. So trying to kind of obviously battling myths wherever they occur, that's really important, busting those myths. And yeah, just getting that confidence generally that where people are keen to find out more or to look at alternatives or to take the plunge, knowing that we're there to support them at the roadside is really important, but also throughout all of our services. So learning to drive in an electric vehicle, or having your electric vehicle serviced at one of our garage network, or our friends at DriveTech providing EV training for fleets who are getting their drivers into electric vehicles for the first time. People who've driven all their lives and suddenly they've given an electric van to take home. So yeah, so through our messaging and through our services, we try and be there.
So many questions for Kirsty, but I know Johnny's coming back to cut us off. We'll get you a bit later.
I'm afraid, John, you're right. It's time to close the mailroom for the moment.
Oh no, the most important question.
I know.
We'll come back to it, Paul. We'll come back to it. All right. But it's now time to welcome our next guest speaker. Over to you, Sam.
What is it? Helen Parker, right? Is that right? No?
She's the one that does all the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So next
How do you
one.
think I got here?
Hey, shut up. I haven't introduced you yet. Right. Right. Richard Parker, EV consultant, UK and Ireland for Webfleet, part of Bridgestone Mobility Solutions. These brands particularly close to my heart due to previous Guinness World Records in vans, but I don't think I've ever mentioned that before. Well, anyway, with over 23 years experience in fleet management, Richard Parker, EV consultant for Webfleet, has been at the forefront of driving decarbonisation in fleet. He is instrumental in supporting fleets to decarbonise their operations through his role at Webfleet. His passion, ambition, and long-term commitment have enabled him to remove barriers for customers and facilitated the growth of connected partner ecosystems to support business in their decarbonisation journey. That is a long sentence, Richard, so thank you for that. Richard's active involvement in launching the world's first EV services platform in collaboration with industry-leading partners showcases his innovative approach to accelerating fleet electrification based on data schmater, Mr. Kirby. His role as EV consultant at Webfleet has garnered industry recognition with organizations such as Greenfleet, where he was recently listed in the top 100 most influential people in the decarbonisation field. Yes, you are in good company amongst this group, Mr. Parker, as we were all in the GF 100, including our final guest, who is in fact top 10. 4 places above me, and that's not annoying at all, not in the slightest. Anyway, Richard is a very keen cyclist, but probably the world's unluckiest cyclist. The next bit confuses me. He had more punctures than he can count, or has had more punctures than he can count. 3 pretty serious crashes, including one where he was delivered home by the police. Now, if it was a serious crash, why weren't you delivered home in an ambulance? But anyway, probably the most stupid thing he's done is to try to take on the dragon ride with Sarah, the powerhouse Sloman, which was very, very stupid. But you know, I think you know firsthand that was a mistake. But anyway, Richard, it's always a pleasure to have you on our show. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. First of all, I'll get that intro shortened. I don't know what marketing are playing at, I need Kirsty on board. Bit waffly, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, thanks for having me on today. Sort of, I guess, picking on some of the themes and the questions, Sam, that you posed to Kirsty as well. I'm not going to go over the things that Sarah said because they're absolutely true. It's about the meeting and the greeting. And equally a lot of the things that Kirsty said around the listening and everything else. But I think from an events perspective, from Webfleet, we've started to see quite a change in the way that we think about how we use events. So going back to the point that Sarah made, there is lots of events, and you really have to do your due diligence about which ones can add value to either the people that you're presenting to or trying to contact with, or ones that are actually going to give you further information as an organization to help you develop and help people move through transition. So we've made quite a strategic decision in the last 12 months about which shows we attend and how we're represented. And I'll give you an example. Perhaps for some of the more traditional fleet events, we would probably now take an approach where we take the traditional stand approach and everything else. But as an example of next week at the CV show, we recognize that everyone talks about collaboration in the transition. And actually, us having a stand at the CV show outside of everybody else isn't really the collaboration. So guess what? We're in the EV Cafe Village because everyone's going to come and all the representative constituent parts of that ecosystem are in one place. And it's that whole piece around if a visitor who is new and curious to transition turns up in that village, then they see all the bits and parts that make it easier to get changing and get doing something. So that's been a real strategic and carefully planned out decision for us about where we go, how we listen to what we need to listen to make our propositions change and develop, and also how we help other people in our ecosystem. And again, it comes from John, you mentioned, Sam, you mentioned very kindly about the EV services platform. Well, that EV services platform, the whole premise is about having an ecosystem in place that if a customer comes to us and says, right, okay, I've got your telematics, but I need to do this, this, and this, we can easily present that customer with the right partners who can work with them to get the transition done. So that's one element. I guess the second element around events and conferences and helping people transition is that we have also started to notice the types of individuals that may be turning up at certain events. And in our world, one of the things that perhaps is missing now because of the sheer workloads for individuals in the fleet industry is that perhaps they're not turning up to the fleet events that they used to turn up. Are they prepared to travel 3 hours to Birmingham and back again? You know, does their business sanction the willingness to go and do that investment? So our second strategy for this year is to try and get more local. And I know that's on EV Cafe's kind of radar as well, is to be more local and make it easy for those who are curious to access the right kind of events and the conversations to make things move forward. So I'm going to be blind, but obvious bit of promotion. The 3rd of June this year, supported by John and Sam, we are holding a decarbonisation event at Bridgestone. Now there's going to be a physical event. It's also going to be live streamed. Okay. And the whole ethos behind the event is to get those people, our customers who are curious that probably haven't done anything yet, to come and we're going to run it in a question time style. So this isn't about Sam or Jamie Fretwell or SJ from OVO or Vev, one of our other partners, doing a sales pitch. The questions are audience-based, and as you register for the event, you'll be asked to ask a question. So Sam will get put on the spot. We are going to try and really handle all sorts of difficult questions because this is what those customers have in their mind. And I want us to try and we want to try and break out of the echo chamber. We want to try and draw new people in. So we're looking at events in a different way to try and do that. Then the other set of events is as well, for the audience, 50% of our business comes from partners, channel partners that resell our product and our services. And they predominantly work within the SME communities and the SME businesses. And so actually one of the really big events we've got in the second half of this quarter is that we're going to be running breakfast shows for them. So Webfleet will run EV type lounge breakfast meetings for their customer base, and they're curious. And that's all about getting on the ground in their local area and getting the people to not have to travel far, to be away by 10 o'clock, get back to their emails, but they've learned something, they've engaged, they've started to think about how they can move their fleets across. So that's kind of a bit of an overview. And to Kirsty's point and your question, Sam, about resource and finances, we're not as big as the AA in terms of the marketing budget. We have to think really carefully where not only can we add the biggest value to the people that we interact with, but also where do we get the biggest bang for our buck in that investment as well. So it's quite an interesting landscape. We'll see if it works, but hopefully I think the gut feel is that let's get down to the local, on the ground, in these local areas and help these smaller businesses. Hopefully that's my 5 minutes.
Brilliant. That's really good. Thank you, Richard. And I think, hopefully you will agree that that's testament to the relationships that we've got with you, with Webfleet and Bridgestone and the AA and others that are willing to use us as a platform to help showcase the art of collaboration and share knowledge, to the wider group, as well as doing these other affiliated sectors. Just today, I'm at the IOD today, and I'm going to say this next bit very carefully so John Curtis can hear it. I'm at the I'm with a number of London bankers today. Yes, I said bankers, John, for the Bankers Net Zero event, which is again a whole nother sphere of people that want to know about this industry. So anything we can do to share beyond the standard audience, I think, is really positive, which is of course what Sarah and Paul are doing today at the Great British Fleet event as well. So yeah.
And just for those of you that don't know, which many of you won't, IOD is not something that you find in Iraq under a vehicle. It's a institute of directors. Just so you know.
Acronym police still there.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you for that sales pitch as well for the Cafe Village. I can definitely edit that, cut that up, and use it.
Absolutely,
but it's true, isn't it? It's true. It's like we've talked about collaboration, so let's do something with collaboration, and make it work for people. That's our view.
Cafe Village is all about. So yeah, great. Hold your horses, team. Before we ask Richard's questions, or John, you open the mailroom, I think it's best that we welcome our final guest speaker for today, and then we can open up the mailroom and do the questions and answers. So Sam, over to you. Who have we got on next?
I think that's it, isn't it? Are we done?
No, someone else unknown to the EV Cafe, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, let's pretend that she is anyway, shall we? Okay. All right. So Sarah Sloman, Chief Strategy Officer at PayThrough. So Sarah is committed to making EV charging easier for the driver. She also has over 20 years experience in the sustainable sector, working on strategic infrastructure projects centered around clean energy and zero emission mobility. Named as EV Champion in 2018 and featured in the Greenfleet 100 most influential list ever since, Sarah climbed to a position number 10 in 2024. Like I said before, 4 places above me, and that doesn't bother me at all. Anyway, Sarah was also named Woman of the Year in 2023 and remained committed to raising £5,000 a year for charity every year through sport, and she cares deeply about paying it forward. Communication and collaboration is what motivates her in her role at PayThrough, supporting businesses in the EV sector with the software and payments to power the charging experience. Now, Sarah didn't give me an interesting fact. I have many, but perhaps not. But perhaps not for this professional forum. So rather than try to ridicule my better half, I have and have that paid forward later, I'd like to offer a more genuine fact about Sarah. And that is, if you didn't know, Sarah is quite simply the most selfless human I have ever met, who goes above and beyond in every facet of professional career and personal life. The Barbara Cox Woman of the Year Award and her distribution of the prize money to worthy causes thereafter is testament to this. So we at the EV Cafe and the team at PayThrough are very lucky to have her. And so with no further ado, Sarah, EV Champion, Woman of the Year, Greenfleet Top Tenner, Sloman, over to you.
Oh, what a lovely introduction. Thank you ever so much. And even better than that, thank you for smiling along, team. You know, I didn't include Mutual EV Cafe Director, although I'm very, very, very proud to be that as well. So for those of you who don't know, PayThrough is a gold sponsor of the EV Cafe. And this was all part and parcel of wanting to broaden our reach and try to just sort of get that quite tricky subject of what is software, what is payments across to the wider audience. So we're a service provider, and our mission is really to be the best possible service provider within your EV charging ecosystem. But my point is, even though there's nothing to really show or present, we can't pull up in a van, there's not really a lot that we can do with the brand of PayThrough. But if you don't sort of go out there and start to tell your story and tell your message and show through these events how your product, your software platform can fit in. And I saw in the chat just now a really valid comment. There is a lot of hardware at these shows, be those the OEM vehicles or perhaps the chargers themselves, and very little conversation about the software or payments that actually makes it all work behind the scenes. And Webfleet, you're both, right? So you've got the data telemetry and also the software as well. Yesterday, a similar testament to that reality, it was the bright green EV charging and parking contactless kiosk launch over just the other side of Milton Keynes, which was really well attended, and lots of people very interested to work out how they can be compliant, number one, how they can make things better for their drivers and user experience, number two. But the third element, I think, that was really important is how to be profitable. So how does hardware and software work together to unlock the capabilities of EV charging for the wider market, and also be very clever about it? And I dare I say it, funner. Genuinely, the MT founder did say that being fun was something that was very important to them. So whilst PayThrough operates behind the scenes without the amazing team, and I will shout them out. Luca's in the house, Luca Papalato, he's our sales and marketing manager. Thank you for joining PayThrough. I've really enjoyed working with you. Emma Clement has just joined as well. She'll be coordinating some of our events, so more and more to come in 24 and 25. You'll see some innovative ideas from PayThrough with our exhibitions. And of course, our chief marketing officer, who's called Chris Westlake. He writes a lot of our thought leadership that gets featured in quite leading publications. But more than that, and something I'm looking forward to with the EV Cafe platform, is we inform policy. We do data research. We're dipping into markets that haven't had any airtime yet in this transition about what it is that people should be building for the future when it comes to helping their drivers to access, find, locate and pay for charging. So the clue's in the name. PayThrough is very good at this. And of course, we're supported by Keith Brown, who you'll meet at the Partners Day next week, and you might see Keith is an absolute visionary, and I'm very pleased to be sort of bridging the gap for us at PayThrough. But for me, we work internationally, so it's important that we're able to take those lessons to other countries and from other countries. And those shows are where you learn. So if you attend a seminar, you see a keynote speaker, somebody inspires you, there's the whole business card thing, don't bother. Just go straight to your Outlook, just go straight onto your LinkedIn and connect with them immediately. So they're front of mind and you can remember exactly why you were inspired by them. That's sort of my top tip for leapfrogging strategically, not making the same mistake if you hear somebody having a failed project. I think we should spend a lot more time talking about failed projects on stage rather than how great everyone is all the time. That could be really beneficial to the industry as a whole. There's that opportunity to learn. And I was going to say opportunity to disseminate, but actually I think it's a responsibility to disseminate. If you've experienced something in your business that you think can help other businesses to collaborate to advance their position, then you don't keep that to yourself. You apply to people like Cenex, who's, by the way, expression of interest for Call for Speakers ends on Friday. So if you wanted to be part of the Cenex dissemination in September, you've got to do it this week. So don't hold back, you might as well apply. And so expanding the reach, dispelling myths, halting the naysayers, making sure that we're all working together for the whole end-to-end ecosystem value chain that is EV charging. It's not just about the hardware, it's how can software unlock that hardware. And that's what made me make the leap into software. Every day is a school day for me. It's a very complicated subject and I'm trying my very best to make it easy to understand and enjoyable for those looking to source it.
Thank you ever so much, Sarah. Before we go to questions, can I ask that Richard and Kirsty come back online? They're not let off the hook just yet. So now is your time. If you've got any questions for any one of us that you see on the screen, then please do so by asking the Q&A tab. Over to you, EV Cafe team.
There's a really interesting question from Leon Gomez, who's saying working internationally is important. How important do you see the role of having languages as a skills issue in the transition? Anybody got a view?
Yeah, if I may, obviously we are PayThrough will need to work internationally, and a lot of the I don't know if you know this about PayThrough, but we do create apps, and to make the sort of charges work, you have to have that language convention really good on there, because we take it for granted how easy it is to use an app if it's in your mother tongue. But if it isn't, you might click the wrong button or perhaps not start the function correctly. And it can be extremely frustrating. Even just the tiniest little glitch makes you go back a few steps. Something that payments industry has is, it blows my mind completely, but the word is latency. So you might procure a payment software that is based here in London. Well, if you're trying to run something on the other side of the world, you will experience a delay. So understanding how these things work is critical in your procurement pathway to make sure that you pick the right software for you that helps you to evolve and grow. And different countries have different needs. Of course, we are in some eyes ahead and in some eyes behind. And I think you can never be closed off to other countries' experiences and their benchmark for needs. Something that seems basic to us could be perfect as an application elsewhere. You don't have to go 5-star, 10 out of 10, A1 every time you're trying to solve a problem with software and hardware.
Somebody definitely reinstalled Duracell batteries into Sarah today. Whoa, she's on it.
Payments, we love payments.
Paul.
Well, I just want to say my experience of recently driving to Amsterdam in this vehicle actually was a struggle at times because of the language. You don't know which button to push, and there is no common way through. You know, you can't put money in the slot, and you know you've got to push a lot of buttons before you tap your card. So I you know, anything that can kind of provide some kind of you know, I mean, I don't know, there must be some apps out there that help. I seem to remember Plug Surfing, which is part of FleetCor and All-Star. That app was probably one of the apps that saved me, actually, because I was able to start a charge with that app, and that makes life a little bit easier when you've got that kind of thing that helps. But yeah, I'm all for helping deal with that language barrier.
It's a question from John Bentley, which was posted to the AA. So Kirsty, stand by, but I know Sam wants to also contribute on this one. Do you plan to publish statistics on public charger reliability? It's often an excuse or a reason why people say, I'm not going to make the transition yet, the infrastructure's not there. What's the real picture, and do you publish that?
So as you know, we work with a number of charge post operators for providing customer service behind the scenes. In terms of us publishing, I mean, we would have anonymized data, but we're providing a service for expert companies at the end of the day. I know we're very keen to see, and again, this is part of our motoring manifesto to see that the CPO networks are properly supported and properly, you know, given the right kind of helpful regulation. I don't think we have any immediate plans, but I know we're doing some work. For example, Esther, who looks after our CPO customers, is doing some customer journey work with Liz Allen. So we're sort of getting involved in the overall journey. Whether we're going to publish stats, I couldn't say.
I got a sneaky suspicion Sam's going to mention Charge UK.
Not particularly, but I can do. I think really it was just to phrase the answers differently to how Kirsty would do it. Not that there's anything wrong with Kirsty's answer because it's completely accurate, but is that, and it's a segue in some way to the previous question in terms of language, but in a different way. And I think what we do need to be cognizant of is that the question in terms of reliability sounds and feels like a binary one. Either a charger works or it doesn't, right? And in the world of CPOs like GridServe, it's our name above the door, so if it doesn't work, it's our responsibility to fix it. But there are, however, many chains in the links. So Sarah will testify to this as well in regards to software being equally as important as the hardware. And I guess my point is that reliability doesn't always land with the charge point operator as a responsibility. It's a very collective one amongst firmware, hardware, software, all sorts of different things. And we've got to be very cognizant of that. In fact, we've got examples recently of some of the main German manufacturers, I won't say which one, but have recently done firmware updates, which have meant that a lot of their cars have failed to charge at our chargers, whereas the week before they were working perfectly. And so we've had to go back and understand why that's happened. And actually, it is our name above the door, but it's got something to do with the vehicle, not the charger. So there is reliability I guess my point is it's a hugely complex area. And whilst it should, I suppose, to the customer and the consumer be a binary question, there's an awful lot of chains or links, in that chain. And if one of them breaks, charging will not happen. So it's a collective effort really to make sure that we try and increase the reliability of all networks by virtue of us all needing to work together and getting all of these different links to work fluidly. And so there is regulation as well, of course, which is determining our uptime requirements. And there's a lot of caveats within those regulations as well. So if you really want to drill into the detail, there's a lot of reading to do in terms of what the definition of reliable actually is.
Richard, you're somebody who spends your life going around trying to support fleets in making that transition to electric vehicles. Is reliability something of chargers that people constantly put up as a barrier, or is that less of an issue in the fleet world?
No, I think if I'm honest, I mean the predominance of our customer base is about 97% commercial vehicles, both light and heavy. So at the moment, and it's sort of at the moment you get, if you talk about EV, you get an immediate pushback. Well, there isn't a vehicle that can do. That's the easy defensive response. So actually, again, we've changed our narrative on this, and we're starting to talk about decarbonisation as an EV is a part of that. And actually, if you just change the length of a trip, if you run your vehicles better and have your tyres inflated, you will start to do it. And so actually that reliability of charges, it is predominant in the vehicles at the moment for most of our sector in which we work. But I have to say as well, it's remarkable in the charging. So my own personal experience is it's changing dramatically, and I don't think people realise just this. So my car, notwithstanding what we do, but just the stuff that's coming through from the influences is where I am stopping now to recharge my vehicle is different even from 12 months ago. So I'm not necessarily on the main networks. I'm now, the other day, I was pushed to a Dobbies just outside Swindon. 350 kilowatt chargers, 6 180s, right? Just like, so I'm not getting cluttered up with potentially stopping somewhere at lunchtime, which is what I did, and encountering perhaps that whole queuing perspective, queuing incident. So I think as well, some of the messaging we need to do, it's not just about the reliability, it's the availability if you pick and look for the right and look for the advancement of where these charging hubs are appearing and keep your eye open.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Richard. And I noticed Sarah had her hand in the air and it's disappeared.
No, it did. I did. I didn't mean to do it in such a disruptive way. It was just, I was thinking carefully as you all spoke. Thank you, Kirsty. Thank you very much, Richard. Obviously, we're live at the event, Paul and I, now, and you might have heard the seminars ending and starting. I hope not, but it occurred to me they always do their presentation, and then it comes to questions, and then everyone goes, "Nope, nothing to say." That's not true. Look at the questions in the chat box here. Look at the questions coming in the Q&A here. People are curious. There's so many things we don't know. We need that safe place, and I'm just wondering what your view is, panelists. Are these live events the right forum for asking those questions? It can be embarrassing to stand up and ask a question. Even Slido, when anonymous, can be aggressive. Maybe we need to change the format of these events. The presentation, yes, and then scurry off for questions more privately if you wish after, instead of the whole, anyone got any questions? You know, I just wondered what your view was. Do you think people are open and honest in that session? Do you ever receive any questions that are of note? Do you think perhaps we should change it slightly?
I do think we should. I mean, as somebody who comes off stage and gets, everybody that speaks does, you get almost mobbed by people who want to have that private conversation. And there are a number of things for me. One is that prevents me from moving on to the next thing I need to do, because obviously I'm often heavily involved in different elements of that event. But it doesn't give a satisfactory answer necessarily, because you've got 3-4 deep waiting to ask you a question. So you're constantly trying to get through them. I'd love to see a much less informal way of getting those questions asked, to sit down and come and have a surgery with us, come and talk to us one-to-one, where we're able to help people. I know Paul does this very, very skillfully. When somebody has a question, he takes them away to the side and they have a one-on-one conversation, and he devotes his attention to the person in front of him. I get baffled by all of the people and think I've got to try and talk to everybody. So it does need better managing, I think. Anybody else got a thought on that? Richard?
Yeah, so I'm
Sorry,
sat
mate.
at our channel partner conference for these last 2 days. And Sarah, to your point, these are people that work with us daily, and whatever the topic of the things that we've been discussed, the questions are minimal. And I think that's why we've decided to do, and I know, Sam will be on the spot, John will be on the spot on that decarbonisation event, and John's kindly put the QR code. And the reason we've put the questions up front is that actually you can perhaps start having the right conversation before you've done the presentation. So we won't even have presentations. We're not even doing it. This is about people getting the opportunity to ask really deep, searching questions that they may not want to ask in a public arena, but they get the answers through a different method. So, we'll see if it works. We took question time. You look at the question time format, and yes, people miss, if they're comfortable, ask it directly, but the questions are there ahead of the event, and maybe you get some more challenging questions that people need the answers to.
I've got my Fiona Bruce outfit already. Paul?
I'm just going to make 2 quick points, actually. First of all, the Green Fleet events that we John, you and I met, I think, at the near Twickenham and Stoop, in fact. And I think we were in that, and the roundtable events where you just kind of went round were actually really quite effective. And I've seen Logistics UK do it similarly, kind of a little room. You have a small presentation, but then a conversation. And but even still, those can be sticky. I'm going to a dinner tonight, which has been arranged by OVO, and it's about having a conversation. It seems. I'm curious as to how it works tonight, because it will be a different way of doing things. They said, look, these are the questions we're going to discuss, and we're just going to put you in a room, have a meal, and talk. And I'm really curious to see who comes, what the questions are, and how they get dealt with as part of a dinner to getting together. And I just think it's a really good opportunity. It's kind of like what we did with the start of the EV Cafe. Just get on, dine, grab a cup of coffee, have a conversation. It's kind of cool.
I think Dev Chakravarti is trying to do something along those lines with the EVA England, and Marvin is also helping with that and supporting that. So there's an awful lot of work that we can do to do this better. But there is one killer question that if I don't ask, all hell will break loose.
Yes.
And Kirsty, that's a question for you. Kirsty, congratulations. This is from Ross McLaughlin. So if you could take notes, please. He says, congratulations on your award-winning bakery. I think I speak for everyone when I ask, what is your jam of choice for your sponge? Now I said traffic jam, obviously.
Very good.
Nice.
But go on.
Well, there is no choice. Like, if you're doing these events, they are very structured. There is a schedule, and it can only be, drum roll, raspberry.
Right.
has to be raspberry, and only granulated sugar on the top, caster sugar on the top. Nothing.
But Kirsty, there are many types of raspberry jam.
Including
Which one gets
seedless.
your vote?
Do you know what? I don't know what it was. It was probably something from the village shop, I expect.
It was on offer at Aldi.
Raspberry jam tips, but yeah, definitely raspberry. Definitely raspberry.
There we go.
Raspberry. Seedless or with seeds?
With
Charlie,
seeds,
take
and
us out of
otherwise
this.
it's not jam. It's
I'm
jelly.
afraid that's all we have time for today.
Well done, Charlie.
I've learned something today.
Yeah, there you go. Let's not lose that nugget. So the difference between a jam and a jelly is the seeds.
Yeah.
My mind
that
has gone
note-
somewhere it shouldn't have done. I'm moving on.
On that note, that is definitely the time to finish up on today's session. So a massive thank you to Richard, Kirsty and Sarah for your insights, and for all of you that have participated on today's session. I know that there's still lots of outstanding questions, so apologies we can get through them all this afternoon. If you aren't subscribed, then please do so by visiting evcafe.org. That's evcafe.org, so you don't miss out on any of our digital and physical presence. And don't forget to follow us on social media channels too, as LinkedIn and YouTube, where we will start to publish more bite-sized and, I guess, easily digestible content from these sessions. And finally, remember that every Friday morning you can catch up with John Curtis and some of the team on the latest news. And that's it. So thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next month.
Tim Rothwell, you're
Bye-bye.
a dirty boy. Dirty boy.
Don't forget the Wednesday podcast, everybody, too.
Asif Ghafoor.
Asif Ghafoor today.
Thanks,
Great
everyone.
conversation.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Get some jam
Bye.
close now. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm getting some jelly.